Once in a lifetime, the best in the world, 18 seconds, and the end of an era. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to another edition of WrestleMania Review Series. And this time we are looking at WrestleMania 28, the highest bought pay per view of all time in the WWE. The highest grossing bought pay per view that was not a WrestleMania was The Invasion, but we don't talk about that. This became the highest bought pay per view of all time. It was WrestleMania. The Rock was coming back. He was fighting John Cena. That is the biggest dream match you can ever think of. They were hyping it up for a whole year after last year's debacle. It was just a big commercial, but we finally got it. We got The Rock and John Cena on this show once in a lifetime. But anyways, let me just tell you that this show was a very enjoyable show. I was hooked. This was a pay-per-view that I said I gotta buy this, and I bought it, watched it with my family. Everybody was watching it. My family were big wrestling fans, so this was it for everybody. And man, were we satisfied with the three matches that we had. Now, for all of you who watched this show, know that those were like the biggest matches: Triple H and The Undertaker, CM Punk and Chris Jericho, and The Rock and John Cena. Every member of my family was looking forward to at least one of those three matches, and we were fighting over which match was going to steal the show. But let's just talk about this show. Kicking it off with America the Beautiful. Didn't get a celebrity this time. We kept it with Lillian Garcia, who already does a great job, so they just said might as well keep her around. Also, I'm pretty positive it's because Justin Roberts was going to call every match up to this point, so it made sense why Lillian Garcia was doing something of value on the show. So why not have her sing America the Beautiful? She's already amazing as it is. So, and then we get on to the first match of the show, which is the World Heavyweight Championship match between Daniel Bryan and Sheamus. And this review is going to be longer than the match itself because, as we all know, Daniel Bryan was this cocky, arrogant, nerdy heel, yet people were really loving him. He gives AJ Lee a kiss, broke kick, 18 seconds, 1, 2, 3. Sheamus is your new world champion, and we all thought that this was gonna be the end of Daniel Bryan. People were booing. There was yes everywhere. Fun fact: this is gonna be the first pay-per-view where we actually see green shirt guy. If you guys know who I'm talking about, that guy with the bright green shirt and the smiley face, or smiley for some of you. He was in the crowd. This is the first time we ever spot him at a WrestleMania, and rumor has it that he's been at every WrestleMania except 36. But if that's true, kudos for him. But anyways, Sheamus winning the world champion. Honestly, I enjoyed his world title run, minus the Alberto Del Rio stuff. And then Daniel Bryan, who could have easily been buried up to this point, made something out of this 18 seconds, and he became one of the most over talents in 2012, moving on to 2013, and eventually getting his big Mania moment at 30. So this should have hurt Daniel Bryan, and it just tells you that Daniel Bryan is a unique talent, and it's someone that you shouldn't be messing with because, man, this skyrocketed him to new heights. Randy Orton versus Kane in a regular match. This was basically their way of saying, sorry, John Cena didn't embrace the hate, so we'll give you another top star. We'll give you Randy Orton. And around this time, Kane was getting a revival in his character. He even looked different. He had that big red mask that looked like a fruit roll-up. This was a pretty solid match. It was very clear they were just throwing them together. Fun fact, every time they have nothing for a top heel in the WWE who had already lost to John Cena, they immediately go to Randy Orton as like a secondary match. And even though I wasn't happy with Kane not making it anything bigger than this, I was still happy. This was a good match, and it was a very enjoyable match, and I was glad that Kane got a victory. This is crazy. Randy Orton lost to both members of the Brothers of Destruction at WrestleMania. First at 21 and now in 28. That's a little Easter egg for those of you. I don't know if anybody else has ever fought Undertaker and Kane in separate WrestleManias. Triple H, just thought of him. Anyways, the big finish of the match was Kane giving choke slam from the top rope onto Randy Orton. Cool move. Enjoyable match. Very underrated. No one really talks about this match because the feud was just kind of irrelevant. It was the whole Kane shaking Randy Orton's hand and Kane wanting to tell Randy that that was old Kane, a buried Kane. This is the new Kane. Whatever worked for them. But anyways, we got a good match out of it. Cody Rhodes versus The Big Show. I remember this feud. It was the whole story of Big Show has never had a proper WrestleMania moment, despite fighting the many celebrities main eventing WrestleMania. This was, I believe, his first singles match where he won. The story itself was the whole, oh, Cody's gonna make Big Show look like a fool on April Fool's Day. Obviously, he didn't. It was a fine match, and for what it was good to see Big Show have his moment. But deep down, we all wanted Cody to be doing something else because Cody was doing a great job as the Intercontinental Champion. First of all, making it look different after Ezekiel Jackson almost buried that title. He had good matches with Booker T, Randy Orton, Sheamus, so he was doing some good work. Only for him to lose to Big Show, fine. And yeah, this match wasn't terrible, but I think we could have gotten Cody Rhodes have a victory against maybe a Booker T or something. I'm shocked they didn't do that instead. Kelly and Maria Menounos versus Eve and Beth Phoenix. Now I remember they announced this match and they didn't do much of it. They had that little segment where Eve and Beth Phoenix interrupt Maria Menounos and Kelly on Extra, and then they just make a match. And Maria Menounos, who was an okay wrestler, she wasn't really that famous to begin with. She only did a couple appearances. The only thing I really remember her for is that cameo in the Fantastic Four with Chris Evans as the nurse. This match was not good. The story going around is that Maria Menounos was on Dancing with the Stars around the point, and she got injured, so she really couldn't even wrestle. So what was really the point of this? And I'm shocked they didn't do Divas of Doom versus Kelly and Maria Menounos. Eve Torres had just turned heel, but it would have made more sense for Eve Torres to turn heel during the Team Johnny and Team Teddy match. I don't know why they turned her heel, but still date Zack Ryder. Made Zack Ryder look like a idiot for trusting her. So yeah, I didn't like this match. Let's just move on. On to the end of an era match, which was Triple H and The Undertaker with special guest referee Shawn Michaels inside Hell in a Cell. Now, I like that Jim Ross actually came out. It kind of sucks that Jim Ross didn't announce all four matches. That would have been so poetic for Jim Ross. The only one he didn't call was WrestleMania 26, that's Streak versus Career, but he at least came to the end to do the end of an era, and I like that they broke kayfabe and made Michael Cole give Jim Ross his flowers after last year burying him. I thoroughly enjoyed this match. This was my match of the night. I predicted this was going to be the match of the night. Man, the story here was great. Shawn Michaels being the referee, kind of getting his ego in the way. It worked out. Undertaker was trying to push Triple H to fight him, but he's like, I'm already the COO. I don't need to fight you. But he pushes his button saying that, maybe you just couldn't do what Shawn Michaels couldn't do. He was always better than you. He loses it. And then he's like, all right, fine. You want me? It's Hell in a Cell. Shawn Michaels is the referee just so he can. This made me really question whether or not Shawn Michaels was going to either make Triple H the heel or the streak was going to continue. And man, this match killed it. The fact that the Hell in a Cell had his own entrance with the Memory Remains song playing, this was just a gold match. The back and forth, the part where Shawn Michaels switching music's The Undertaker to lead to a pedigree. The cell wasn't really used on this match. It was just for the match itself to feel important, because another no holds barred match, a street fight, it just wouldn't have feel as epic. I do kind of wish that they used the cell structure a little bit more, and I would have appreciated just a little bit more. But this still doesn't take away from how amazing this match was. The fact that Shawn Michaels was the referee, there was a part where he gets taken out. Charles Robinson comes out to do the pins, but Undertaker later choke slams Charles Robinson. The back and forth with both men, the sledgehammer being used on Triple H for once. Again, the finisher reversals was just top notch, but then the match ends with Triple H going like this, a sledgehammer shot, tombstone, 1, 2, 3. We thought Triple H was gonna pass out at one point, but anyways, 1, 2, 3. Shawn Michaels makes the count, and Undertaker goes 20-0. And then the three men show respect for each other. They all walk to the entrance ramp as they all stare at the crowd. Everybody's giving them their flowers. They all hug it out, and then they walk away. Now, I'm going to give you guys a very hot take. I love this match. This was a great match. And this should have been The Undertaker's last match. There was no reason why The Undertaker should have came back. Like, the only reason why Undertaker would have come back is if the streak ended, which is what happened, and we all know how that turned out. A lot of people hated the Undertaker's matches after his streak lost. So really, if Undertaker wanted to end the best way possible, this should have been it. This should have been the last time we saw the Undertaker in the ring. And it didn't even have to be like a big special moment where he breaks character, gives his farewell. Like, no, he should have just quietly walked on the sunset, and this would have been very poetic. And granted, I still enjoyed this match. If you guys actually watch the show, you should know that the first 4 matches took up at least an hour, and then this itself with the entrances and the match itself and the celebration at the end with the 3 men, this took up a whole another hour in itself. This was a 30-minute match, but man, it didn't even feel that long. This was when Undertaker can still kind of move. You could tell he was a lot older, but he still felt like the Undertaker, and it's kind of a shame that this wasn't his last match. I really wish this was his last match, and it would have been the perfect way to cap off what has been already an incredible career. And maybe the following years we wouldn't have had to push for like a CM Punk in the main event or other stuff like that. We could have start putting our eggs in the basket of the new talent and start building new guys. But unfortunately, with the Undertaker still around, wanting to still wrestle, we kind of had to make room for him. But it still doesn't take away how awesome of a performer the Undertaker is. He did so much for this business. For me, this really should have been the end of an era. For the Undertaker, at least. I think we could still done stuff with Triple H. We had the whole Authority storyline. The Brock stuff was take it or leave it. But like I said, I do enjoy this match. For me, the match of the night. I was really happy to see this match. The WWE Hall of Fame, which featured Ron Simmons, Mil Máscaras, Yokozuna, Iron, Mike Tyson, the Four Horsemen, and the Rated R Superstar Edge. A really good class. This was I really enjoyed this class. It is unfortunate that because the Four Horsemen got inducted, we never got to see Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard be inducted on their own. Barry Windham is technically a 2-time Hall of Famer, and so is Ric Flair. And this became a trend going on forward and still going on to this day, where many wrestlers have become 2-time Hall of Famers. I do kind of wish that we had the Brainbusters, Tully Blanchard, and Arn Anderson be inducted on their own, because then we wouldn't have had that whole multi-time Hall of Famers. I don't think everybody deserves to be a 2-time Hall of Famer. That's just my personal take, but it does make sense why they do it. Regardless, this doesn't take away from what is a really good class. I grew up with pretty much knowing all of these wrestlers. I already knew who Yokozuna was, Ron Simmons and his damn. Mil Máscaras was a huge surprise, but not really, because he was the uncle of Alberto Del Rio. Edge, we should have predicted. Shawn Michaels retired the previous year, and now he's on here the following year. So the same thing happened to Edge. And then Iron Mike Tyson. I mean, finally, a celebrity that truly deserves it. Without Mike Tyson, the Austin era wouldn't have been as impactful as it already was. So, great class. I can't really get mad at it. On to Team Johnny versus Team Teddy, where the winning team had their GM take over both Raw and SmackDown. In Team Johnny, we had, well, first of all, we had Brie Bella announce all the people, and let me just say that the Bella twins are not good ring announcers. We had the captain, David Otunga, Dolph Ziggler, Drew McIntyre, Jack Swagger, Mark Henry, and The Miz, who has been heavily pushed. Like, I want to be on Team Johnny. I'm shocked that they didn't go the route where The Miz is trying so hard to be part of Team Johnny, only for him to join Team Teddy and then gives us a curveball and then turns it on Team Teddy at the last minute. I'm shocked they didn't do that. But man, this is a huge downgrade for a lot of these performers. Dolph Ziggler, Mark Henry, and The Miz, all former world champions. Jack Swagger, too. Jesus, I forgot he was world champion. And yeah, this is the best they could. Again, this basically proved to me that they needed Money in a Bank still at a WrestleMania. But let's look at Team Teddy's side. We had the captain Santino Marella, Zack Ryder, Kofi Kingston, R-Truth, The Great Khali, and Booker T. A more star-studded set of wrestlers, again, being called by Nikki Bella. This was not really good necessarily. They had some cool spots where there's a part where R-Truth, Kofi, and Zack Ryder all do the big dive. Hornswoggle has a little moment, no pun intended. Then getting the hot tag, Zack Ryder does all these cool moves, has cool moments and spots. There's a part at the end now where Zack Ryder and Eve Torres do the woo woo woo, only for Eve Torres to be pushed out of the ring. The Miz hits his finisher onto Zack Ryder, and Team Johnny wins. And then the Miz gets rewarded nothing after this. This was a really bad time to watch WWE. John Laurinaitis is one of the worst managers and one of the worst people I've ever seen. He's so boring. He's so dull. And then all these stories that he was trafficking with Vince, and man, this guy's he just looks like a terrible human being, and I'm glad that he's out of the company. This guy just flat out sucked. He was just not charismatic at all, and it was so bad that within 3 pay-per-views in, John Laurinaitis was out. They hated John Laurinaitis. We hated John Laurinaitis. It just made all this pointless. I kind of wish that they did Team Teddy versus Team Johnny at Survivor Series, and then they worked their way up to WrestleMania where John Laurinaitis finally loses his job. That would have been very poetic and nice. But the reason why we had John Laurinaitis get his victory here and become the general manager of Raw and SmackDown is so he can add the stipulation that if CM Punk gets DQ'd, then he loses the WWE Championship. Now, fun fact, this match was supposed to end in DQ, but then they did this last minute switch around with CM Punk and Chris Jericho, and this is the one that worked because of the heel persona that John Laurinaitis was, plus the whole Chris Jericho calling out CM Punk for being straight edge, even though his dad was an alcoholic, his sister was abusing drugs. He gets very personal, and CM Punk doesn't let it get to him, and then they wrestle a heartfelt match. I do wish that they do more spots where it looked like CM Punk was going to get disqualified, but then it just turns into a regular match. This doesn't take away from what a great match this was. To many people, this was their match of the night. Again, I like Undertaker and Triple H a little bit more, but this one was pretty good. This was my third favorite match of the night. We'll get to my second favorite match of the night later. This was really enjoyable. Good match. I like the part where CM Punk was about to do a Hurricane Rana, and then it gets reversed into the walls of Jericho. CM Punk making Chris Jericho tap out, and he gets his moment. So very good that CM Punk got his moment, and it's a precursor to all the great things that CM Punk does in 2012. Making it a whole year as WWE champion. Go out of your way and watch it. They do have a better match at Extreme Rules, I'll say that. The Chicago Street Fight, I personally think, is a lot better, but this doesn't take away from how good this match is. Before we get the main event, we had a segment with Brodus Clay and his mama, the Funkadactyls, the Bridge Club, all dancing. Man, I hated the Funkasaurus. But yeah, he got his little moment. Fun fact, John Cena actually pretended to go to the bathroom just so Brodus Clay can have his moment, which was like a nice thing for John Cena to do. But this doesn't take away from this being lame. But what's not lame is the most anticipated main event of all time: The Rock and John Cena, once in a lifetime. Until next year, but we'll talk about next year when we get to it. But this match was really good. The build-up was great with them calling out each other. It's been a whole year in the making. John Cena really felt like the hero of this story with him saying, like, I've been around. I never went to Hollywood. I stuck around with the fans. I don't need to write notes on my arm. And then he writes notes on his arm just to mock The Rock. I bring it via satellite. This was just good work from John Cena. Too bad they were booing him. This is the few times where I'm like, no, don't boo John Cena. He's right. But again, The Rock being as popular as he is, he had his points of, proving to himself that he is still it. At Survivor Series, he proved it when he fought The Miz and R-Truth alongside John Cena. This was a great match, and I really enjoyed it. They did overdo it with the entrances. John Cena coming with MGK and P. Diddy of all people. Ooh. Yeah. Let's not talk about P. Diddy. Anyways, John Cena comes out to Invincible. MGK gets booed because he talks about John Cena being an underdog, even though he isn't. John Cena has his entrance. Then Florida comes out singing Wild Ones and Good Feeling, only for The Rock to come out. So the entrances themselves took a long time, but then we get onto the match and it was great, top notch work. The fact that The Rock can do a dive as big as he is, it just shows how great The Rock really is. There was points where I'm like, oh, John Cena's gonna make The Rock tap out. Thankfully, he didn't. There was a good back and forth, and this was just a very enjoyable match. Just the typical dream match that you would expect out of both men, and it was a really great match. But the ending, John Cena is about to do the people's elbow, and then The Rock reverses into a rock bottom, and it takes a toll into John Cena, and The Rock wins. A big surprise to everybody because John Cena always wins, but The Rock got his moment. This is the first time The Rock ever wins the main event of a WrestleMania, so that's a big plus for The Rock. And John Cena, you have that infamous moment of him just sitting out, and they pretend that he had the worst year of all time, but he didn't. He really had an all right year in 2012. The Rock supposedly made John Cena's life a living hell from this loss. We'll talk about all of it when we get to Twice in a Lifetime. But let's just soak in this moment because this match was really good and I really enjoyed it. For the most part, WrestleMania 28, it did its job of hyping up the two matches that were the most anticipated. They really only hyped up the end of an era and once in a lifetime. They had WWE magazines with Triple H, Undertaker, The Rock, and John Cena. Nobody else. Even the promo package at the beginning only hyped up the Cell match and the main event. I do kind of wish they showed more love to the mid card, because some of the stuff they do in the mid card was pretty solid, and it does make up for a pretty good show. I do wish that we had gotten more love to the mid card and everything else, but it doesn't take away from this being a really good show. So I'm gonna give it a B. I think that's a fair rating, so I can't really fault it. So, anyways, that's it for my review of WrestleMania 28. We're gonna move on to WrestleMania 29, taking place in MetLife Stadium in New Jersey, of all places. So, stay tuned, everybody, and I'll see you all later.